Hello, and thank you for clicking on the video. This video is going to address a few of the recent questions that I received on shortcuts. I know that some of you watching my channel, you're interested in law enforcement positions, and I've been giving advice on this channel now for several years. Today's video is going to talk about reserve officers and reserve deputies and correctional deputies. And so the question that I received was, is there a shortcut? So the person that emailed me said that the police academy takes 6 months, and what if they don't want to spend 6 months going through the police academy? Is there a way to get your foot in the door earlier and sooner and easier and a lot less costly? And the answer is yes. So continue watching to listen to what I have to say. So in my previous videos I mentioned about POST, and in California where I reside and where I worked in law enforcement, POST stands for Peace Officers Standards and Training, and they are the agency that controls all of the training for all the law enforcement agencies, both police, sheriff, highway patrol, you name it. So any peace officer who goes through training, they attend POST level courses. So get used to it. We're not talking about the serial POST. We're talking about POST, the law enforcement accreditation agency that monitors all trainings, certifies all trainings, including all the police academies in California. So one way to get into law enforcement is obviously to put yourself through the police academy, and that is 6 months long, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then you have the academy certificate. Once you're done with the academy, you have up to 3 years to get hired, or the academy certificate expires, and so you're kind of like on the clock as soon as the second you get graduated from the academy, if you go through as an independent. Of course, I have completed other videos about applying to agencies as a trainee, entry-level position, where those agencies actually employ you as a trainee and then pay you to go through. But so today's video, and this is the part that I got to, and I had to tell you all of that because it's the professor in me. Today's video is about the shortcut. So when I was in high school, junior year, I started taking reserve officer level 3 and level 2, and level 3 is powers of arrest. If you look at the California Penal Code section 832, that's the section that discusses how the peace officers have powers of arrest. And so it's appropriate that the post level 3 course, the entry level course, is called PC 832 level 3 for post. And so how long is it? When I went through, it was 40 hours. Now it might be 50 or so hours. And then you have post level 3, and then you could apply to certain agencies as a possibly non-sworn position, dog catcher, community service officer, police dispatcher, etc. So that's post level 3. Some agencies hire people to write parking tickets, and that's one way to get your foot in the door, is to take the PC 832 course. In my area, the community colleges offer it. And so PC 832 actually may be taken online in some cases. So because of the, if there's still, by the time you watch this video, if COVID-19 is still occurring, then you might look at online. So anyway, that's PC 832. Get your foot in the door at a very minor type of position. Maybe you're a jail intake officer, juvenile intake officer, etc. They require PC 832 powers of arrest course level 3. So then there's level 2, and most agencies, if you have level 3 and 2, you can be hired as a reserve police officer or a reserve deputy sheriff. So you're a part-time employee in those positions, and you always have to be accompanied or supervised by a supervisor. So it's you can't be working alone. So if you're an intake officer, and you're a reserve deputy, you have to have somebody there supervising you at all times. If you're working on patrol, you have to have a field training officer like I was, or another officer who's full-time off probation supervising you, so that your peace officer powers are legit and valid while you're working. And that's something that you need to understand. When you're a reserve officer, it covers you on the way to work, during work, and on your way home from work. But once you get home, you're no longer a peace officer. So you're not a peace officer 24 hours a day as you would be if you were a full-time officer. So keep that in mind. And then the last level is level 1. Also, years ago they called it Module D. I don't know if they're offering Module D anymore. They grandfathered some of the level 1 reserves years ago and gave them level 1 status in terms of academy equivalency. I don't think that's happening anymore. I think that you have to take level 1 and then take another supplement course to have the full academy. So I hope this answers your questions. Some of the risks that I also want to talk about, some of the risks involved with this. Yes, it's a shortcut to get your foot in the door, but you will always be a probationary employee. And what that means, you can be let go with or without cause at any time for any reason. I want you to think about that. So you become a reserve officer, a reserve deputy sheriff. You love it because you got your foot in the door. You took a shortcut. Instead of spending 6 months, level 3 maybe took you a few weeks to get it over with, some weekends. Level 2 took you a month or two to get it done. And now level 1, maybe another month, and here you are, you're a reserve deputy sheriff or you're a reserve police officer. When you first get hired, you're timid and you're still learning the ropes, but then eventually you feel like you're one of the team. You're in uniform. There is most departments have no difference between what a reserve officer looks like and what a full-time officer looks like in uniform. I know San Jose, for example, they used to have where the full-time officers wear the gold badges and then the reserve officers wear the silver badges, which is not a good idea because then suspects on the street find that out and then they start treating the reserve officer like shit, and that could cause an officer safety issue. But anyway, back to my point. You get hired, you're timid, you're learning how to, what the ropes, are, how to do the job. Eventually, you learn the job, right? And then you start acting cocky. You start acting just like a full-time officer once he or she is off probation. Maybe it's been a year, maybe it's been 2 years. And sometimes you start talking back to your supervisors. Sometimes you start talking back to your coworkers. And this is very dangerous because, again, I want to remind you, you're a reserve. So you're a temporary employee. And so by being a reserve, one phone call can get you dismissed from that position. And you will be fired. You'll be let go. And there is absolutely nothing you could do to fight any of that. Because again, you're a temporary employee and you can be let go at any time for any reason, with or without cause. And it's terrible when you're older. Maybe when you're younger, you can recoup from this. When you're older, from that point forward, you'll have to explain why you were fired, why you were terminated, why you were let go, however you want to explain it. So yes, there is a short to getting in. Yes, with that shortcut comes some dangers. Personally, I know that I followed that pattern that I just told you about. I had the reserve officer level courses when I was in high school as a police explorer. I think level 3 was done through one of the police explorer academies, and it was 40 hours long, so that's fine. But and I was able to do okay. By the age of 19 and a half, I was on patrol, actually handling police calls, which is incredible. Fast forward to 2020 and beyond, most agencies want you to be at least 21 years old, or 23 in the case of federal system, so that you have some maturity under your belt, and so that you're able to go out there and do the job without having to have your hand held during the process. So I hope I beat that question to death and answered your questions on the shortcut of getting into law enforcement. Now, one more thing I will tell you, because I received a couple of questions on it, was background investigations. That always seems to be a popular topic, and I'm going to put maybe on the notes, those of you that are not interested in being a reserve but maybe want to hear the background topics. Finances, okay, finances. You have to budget your money to show maturity before you get into law enforcement. When you get to the finances page of your background, and I mentioned this in one of my older videos, is that they look at your income, they look at your expenses, they look at your liabilities, and they look at your assets. So it's kind of a four-part page. So if you're making, say, $1,200 a month, and you have $1,200 of bills, that is never a good thing. If you have excessive credit cards, that shows poor judgment. If you're not saving anything, I'm talking about even saving $5, $20 a month into a savings account, that is not a good thing. And so you're getting paid $1,200, you should be able to put away $20 or $40 of that in a savings account every month. And I know it doesn't seem like a lot, okay? A Starbucks coffee, you know, a specialty coffee is now $4.50 or whatever it is. And so if you can't save $20 or $40 a month by at least maybe minimizing your Starbucks coffees or your Peet's coffee or whatever your preferred place is, then something is wrong. Something is wrong because you're not thinking ahead, you're not thinking of the future, you're not thinking responsibility. So the only other thing I received a question on is speeding tickets. Will speeding tickets hurt you? And the answer is yes.
In 5.7 miles,
you become,
continue straight on
I-580 a liability if you basically have too many speeding tickets on your record. If you get, agencies won't hire you if you have too many speeding tickets on your record. So my solution in closing this video is for you to start using what's called, you ready? Cruise control. When you're on the freeway, use cruise control. So speed limit is 55. You're probably okay to go 5 miles over. You're not okay to go 10 miles over. And going with the flow of traffic is not going to get you out of a speeding ticket. So get that out of your head. I don't know who told you that, but going with the flow of traffic is not going to get you out of a ticket. Yes, there is a law that says minimum speed law, and no, you can't drive 35 on the highway if it's 55 is the maximum. But if the flow of traffic is going 80 and you're in that flow of traffic, you're in that swarm of bees, a cop like me with a radar or LiDAR, a former cop like me, but will point you out of a group, we call it that, the wolf pack, and then you'll be pulled over. And then so when you go to court, you can't tell the judge that you were in the middle of the flow of traffic, and that's going to get you off. Remember also that 1 mile, technically 1 mile over the speed limit is speeding. So if the speed limit is 55 and you're doing 56, you are speeding. Look at your car speedometer, turn on applications like Waze and other GPS devices that actually compare it with satellites, and get to know what that is. I'm going to conclude the video, get to know what your speed is. I'm going to conclude the video. Please continue sending the questions. Please keep yourself safe. Please, 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 please be selfish about your career. Start working on your career early so that you will be successful and that you're not going to be fell behind while others pass you because they appear to be more confident and so forth. Thank you for listening, and take care of yourself.